Is God the Father the same as Moses' God? In Christianity, Jesus reveals God as a being of love, mercy, and forgiveness. However, some view God the Father as identical to the Old Testament God, Yahweh, who often appears strict and punishing. This idea risks misrepresenting the compassionate God Jesus taught, making it a confusing and even harmful approach to Christian faith. Jesus reveals God as loving and merciful. When Jesus says, "I am the way and the truth and the life," John 14:6, he offers Christians a clear picture of God. Jesus' teachings emphasize love, even for our enemies, Matthew 5:44, and show a compassionate God who forgives and heals. This loving portrayal of God becomes the foundation of Christian faith. The Old Testament God, a different portrait. In the Old Testament, especially in Moses' time, Yahweh is often portrayed as severe, demanding strict justice and sometimes harsh punishment. For example, in Numbers 16, Yahweh causes the ground to swallow up rebels, showing a response that feels swift and unforgiving. This picture of God, while meaningful in its historical context, seems incompatible with the God of love that Jesus reveals. The conflict between Yahweh and Jesus' teachings. Trying to merge these two images, God the Father is merciful and Yahweh is punitive, creates confusion. Jesus explicitly rejected eye for an eye, retribution in favor of turning the other cheek and loving our enemies, Matthew 5:38-39. If Christians are meant to see God through Jesus' teachings, then this disconnect undermines the Christian understanding of God as forgiving and gracious. Jesus is the way to knowing God. Jesus tells us he is the way, meaning his life and teachings show the clearest path to God. In a world with diverse interpretations, Jesus' example becomes the compass for Christians. His life shows us how to live with humility, kindness, and faithfulness, echoing God's heart. When Jesus says he is the truth, he is claiming his message is the clearest representation of God. Amid the many views of God, Jesus' words provide clarity and consistency. And by declaring himself the life, Jesus reveals that following him offers fulfillment, both in eternal life and in a meaningful present life. Through Jesus, Christians find a way of living that is both loving and transformative. Why equating Yahweh with God the Father can be harmful. Believing that God the Father is the same as the often punitive Yahweh from the Old Testament can lead to theological confusion. Jesus' teachings reveal God as loving and forgiving, and equating this with an image of strict, unbending justice risks misrepresenting God's true nature. This idea doesn't just cause confusion, it also detracts from the Christian message, which centers on love, grace, and reconciliation. Conclusion: embrace Jesus' vision of God. In the end, the teachings of Jesus offer the clearest way to know God's nature. Jesus' words, "I am the way, the truth, and the life," invite Christians to see God as loving, merciful, and trustworthy. Embracing Jesus' vision helps Christians avoid theological conflict and walk confidently in a faith rooted in compassion and grace. By focusing on Jesus, believers can find a consistent, clear understanding of God and a path to spiritual fulfillment.